Hey everyone, and welcome back to John's Conscious Life. So today I've got a documentary review for you, and I was supposed to have this posted yesterday, but that's all right. Um, I watched Forks Over Knives, and I'd actually never seen this one before, even though it is one of the most commonly watched and commonly suggested documentaries. But yeah, so I've just got a few notes here, my thoughts and my reaction of Forks Over Knives. And so, if you're not aware, it was directed and narrated by Lee Fulkerson, and he was actually a test subject to a plant-based diet for a 12-week program. Uh, and so he was kind of chronicling his own experience while making this movie, which was pretty cool. And yeah, the film discusses just a lot of aspects of nutrition and dietary myths, findings, diet versus disease, things like that, and really centers around two of the more prominent roles within this community, which would be Dr. Colin Campbell and Caldwell Esselstyn. So they actually both grew up on a farm, like with the farm style life, and it was around dairy cows and beef and things like that. So they kind of came from a thought process that this food was good for you. And so it's kind of cool to see how their story progresses as they go along in life. So to touch on Dr. Campbell a little bit, he actually, like I mentioned, grew up on a farm and stuff, but then when he was doing some work in the 60s in the Philippines, he noticed that um, between the different classes of people there, between different financial statures, the food that they ate was different, and therefore the health and the disease seemed to be different as well. So he noticed this very early on in his career in the '60s that diet definitely seemed to play a role in how people were getting disease and their overall nutrition and health and weight, of course. So after some years of research, he actually did join up with Dr. Junqi Chen of China, and they discussed the Cancer Atlas, which was a book that was comprised of data that had been from the past few years around China, looking at dietary trends and patterns and kind of putting that into perspective with also cancer trends and patterns. So when they put this information together and they looked at it, Dr. Chen and Dr. Campbell kind of realized, okay, there's definitely some correlation here, and so the China study was kind of born. So yeah, that really was the beginning of one of the largest, well, probably the largest study on diet and nutrition, as most of you would already know. But so when they first actually published some of their findings, I believe it was 1990 or 91, they had over 94,000 correlations between diet and disease that were made from their findings over following the dietary patterns of people in China throughout 65 different counties. So it was pretty clear at that point that there was something going on here, and Campbell kind of admits that he had to change his views about food and nutrition. He grew up thinking that milk was great for you and stuff, but then after all of these findings, he pretty much had to change things, reflect, and formulate new ideas and new opinions based upon facts, not just what the USDA or what his parents or whatever had told him as he was growing up. So, um, moving on to Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, he was actually involved in a lot of the newer cancer treatments that were available. In '71, Richard Nixon had declared kind of a war on cancer, passed a bill to um, do a lot more funding towards cancer research and treatment. It was really based upon the treatment aspect of it. And so at that point, after a little while, Esselstyn kind of realized that he wasn't doing much to actually fix the problem rather just treating symptoms. So he kind of decided that he wanted to go on his own path. So in the mid 80s, he actually got 24 patients that he had requested to kind of go as part of a trial, part of a test for nutrition based testing. And 5 of these people, he says in the film that he was actually really surprised with the people he got, because he was expecting sort of your average run-of-the-mill folk, and he got 5 people that were actually terminally ill and were told by their doctors that you're going to die soon. And so he didn't really know what to expect right away, but although a few people, I think it was 6 people, did drop out within the first 18 months, he did carry out his test for a few years, and actually all of them survived, even the terminally ill patients. And so the documentary, Forks Over Knives, was actually released, I believe, in 2001, so it is a little bit old now. But yeah, I mean, that had been at least 15 years, and all of those people were still alive. So now, when he first saw the publications of the first China study facts being released by Campbell, then he realized that, okay, I should take dairy out of the equation here. As he removed all of the dairy, all animal products from his testing, he found that the results dramatically improved. And that's when he really started to notice the biggest correlation between just animal products themselves, not just the red meats and things like that, but it really made a big difference. And one of the quotes that he says throughout the film, which I thought was just great, is that heart disease is a toothless paper tiger. You know, it's a scary front, but nothing really to fear, because it can be cured, it can't even be reversed. And there are other doctors as well that are kind of chronicled a little bit, or put their little piece in. Dr. McDougall definitely noticed some of these same correlations between diet and disease, and generations of Asian immigrants that were coming over to work on, I believe it was a sugarcane farm in Hawaii that he was around at the time. And you could see that with every generation getting more and more into the standard American diet, weight, health deteriorated. So there was an obvious impact from nutrition there. And one of the other doctors that had some parts throughout the film that I thought was a really interesting man was Dr. Terry Mason. He was the commissioner of public health in Chicago at the time that this film was created. And he speaks throughout the film, and he talked about how food is kind of like a drug. You know, it fulfills some of the same satisfactions and same sensors that drugs do. And so he was very instrumental in helping to bring some awareness of nutrition and implement some new changes within Chicago. And I'm going to leave a link in the description with a little bit more information on him, because I really truly believe that he was also a very huge part of this film. But what he said about being food like a drug kind of really tied into something that Dr. Lyle had input, which was the motivational triad. That living beings, all life really, just wants to do 3 things. Seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy as best as they can. So when you have cheap, tasty, pleasurable, high-fat and calorie foods that they taste great, of course that's going to appeal to the senses, and people are going to go to that because they're getting the pleasure, obviously avoiding the pain and the energy that it takes to prepare, a healthier meal or whatever. So really, throughout this film, there's a lot from different doctors and different points of view, and how they all kind of added some input into the nutrition and the diet versus disease standpoint. But it was interesting because it was all really done in segments, and to kind of fill in and keep things informational as well, instead of just more of from a personal standpoint. It was tons of case studies, tons of real people, telling their story of health, people that worked with Campbell, Esselstyn, Dr. Letterman, Polday, and others, their transformation results, and their ability to become independent from medication. So there's some really good motivational stories in there as well to kind of keep things light and keep it personal as well. So, um, and so many of these stories and journeys and studies that all kind of lead to the same conclusion that diet, determines your health. Really, we're tied together very well, and there's so many fact-based charts and graphs and patterns and testimonials to back up every claim in this movie that it's pretty much undeniable. I mean, these are facts; these aren't opinions, and this is a must-watch. So, what I got from it the most, really, is that the feel of this documentary for me was that, yeah, there's a lot of really, really horrible things that we're doing to ourselves with our diet, and the trends are. I mean, it's skyrocketing, but it's never too late. There's no reason to give up hope. You have the ability to make the changes and the powers within your hands. So when you get informed, you get educated, and you have the tools that you need, and you've got the support from others who are like-minded, you can really control your own fate, your own health, fate, and destiny. And so your own vitality, that's what you can control. You have the ability to make yourself healthy and be as healthy as you want to be. So you don't have to be a victim of this standard American and Western diet. It's not too late to make the changes, as a lot of the cases in the film really demonstrate. So, in conclusion, um, I think that this should be mandatory classroom material in every school. I really do. I think that everybody should watch this film. And I think that it's presented so factually and so positively. So many people just smiling throughout the movie that I think that this would be a great documentary to show any friend or family who is willing to give you an hour and a half of their time, because when you watch this, there's no way you can just say, oh, that just isn't true, or it's kind of hard to deny. It's extremely motivational. It opens up your eyes, and it backs everything up with facts. And yeah, so I have to give it a 10 out of 10 in every category. It was fun to watch. There's some great people, great personalities, both from the medical or from the professional standpoint with the doctors, but also with the persons that, including the director Lee, that decided to partake in some of the experiments as well. Yeah, really fun to watch, but also extremely educational, and it just backs up everything you already know. But then has these little hidden gems of a little fact that, oh geez, I didn't even realize that. So it was pretty cool. Um, so yeah, again, I'm gonna leave some links in the description box about some of the doctors or some of the people involved in this, and I really do suggest that you check some of them out, because I really couldn't do everybody justice without making this an hour-long review. And if you're gonna watch me for an hour, you might as well just watch the documentary. So. Um, but definitely thanks for watching, guys. Hope you watch this documentary if you haven't already. If you have, give it another watch, or share it with a friend or a family who maybe is having a hard time understanding the correlation between diet and health, because it really is undeniable. It's so true. So thanks for watching, guys, and like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks. Bye.